welcome to today's Power Talk. Today's webinar, we are looking at 21 proven marketing hacks to grow your health practice. Now, my name is Damien Adler. I am one of the co-founders here at Power Diary and head of customer success. I'm also a registered psychologist and a co-founder of a group private psychology practice that my wife and I grew. So I'm really speaking from two levels of experience here. One is having built a private practice and really enjoy doing that and growing that. And also through the perspective of working with thousands of practices now around the world and watching what they do, talking to them about their practices and looking at what are their sort of the tricks, if you like, and the keys that some of the most successful practices do to grow. How do they market? How do they get their name out there? Now, you might notice my background is a little bit different today. If you're a regular to our webinars, I am traveling at the moment, so I am coming to you from a hotel room rather than my home office. Now, I really just didn't want to miss doing this. This is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. And one of the reasons behind that is that I think often as health practitioners, we can be reluctant to get out there and I'm going to say sell ourselves, but I don't mean sell in the way that often has some negative connotations. So that brings us nicely into the first hack. And I'm going to do this a little bit differently today. I'm going to go fairly fast through the different strategies that I'm going to sort of throw out there. And the idea behind it is to get your brain going to think about definitely not trying to apply all of these, but really trying to get your brain juices flowing and think about the different options that are available and the different ways you might be able to get promote your practice, grow it bigger, and really it's going to be about what resonates with you. Now, we'll also be including a copy of this presentation and that we'll send out after this, so you'll have actually each of these nicely presented with 21 different options to get your thinking going. So I won't go into too much detail in each one. Now, first one is this idea of not being shy, tell the world. So like I said, we're often really reluctant for some reason to, I guess, be out there and to communicate what we've got to offer, what might make us unique. We, I think, perhaps in the past, had a view that we could kind of set up a practice and just through word of mouth alone, we could grow that practice and get business. And that often still does happen, but what we're seeing is more and more competition in the health space. And therefore, it's becoming more and more important to get out there and to let people know what you do. But as we're going to talk about today, that doesn't mean that you have to be a salesperson and that you have to be comfortable getting up and talking to a group and selling, if you like, your goods, your goods, I should say, your services. So, okay, let's look at the what we can do here in terms of getting up and running nice and easily. So, don't be shy, tell the world. So I'm going to talk about sending out press releases to local media, to outlets, to community newspapers. You can put announcements on Facebook groups, business groups, anyone else that you think might be interested. And when I'm talking about putting out press releases, you can announce new programs, you can announce new staff, you can talk about growth, you can talk about perhaps a particular perspective that you have, you can talk about new research that's come through that you find interesting. It could be a new workshop that you're promoting. It can be anything, but the point is, don't just don't just develop the new program or grow your practice and not tell people about it. Get out there, tell the world. Okay, I know it doesn't come easy. Just bear with me. We're going to go through a bunch of options. I'm hoping some of these are going to be ones that you think, yes, I can do. Okay, let's get to number 2. This is about the option of providing free presentations. And this is a fantastic way of promoting your business. I've done this many times in growing our psychology practice. And it's a really good, I find it works on many levels. So first of all, pick a topic that you think organizations in your area would like their employees or members to find out about or to learn about. And I think it helps if you find something that's really accessible, but also where you can deliver value in a short amount of time. So 30 to 60 minutes, ideally a topic you enjoy talking about, because if you enjoy talking about it, that passion, enthusiasm is going to come across in you just talking about your subject. You don't actually need to sell your services, by you just talking about and sharing something that you're passionate about and that is useful to other people. Then people will be naturally kind of attracted to that. They'll want to know more about your business. And what you'll find is that you'll get a combination of business out of that, particularly if you go to organizations, because you'll get individual clients, I should say, that are in the audience, but also you'll very often pick up organizational clients. So sometimes you'll find that HR departments, other managers, and so forth will see you as a go-to person for that particular profession that you belong to. So if you're a psychologist, then they're looking for, if they're looking for a psychologist, they're going to have a relationship with you. They're going to know a little bit about how you operate, and therefore they're going to want to use you. If you're a physiotherapist, for instance, and you've gone and done a presentation on something related to, preventing injuries or to maintaining good posture or other maybe basic exercises people can do to prevent workplace injuries or to maintain their strength and flexibility, then what you're going to find is the people in the audience are going to sort of get a sense of what you are, what your organization's about, and they're going to utilize you next time anyone has that need. It's amazing how being familiar with and having some sort of prior relationship or contact with a health profession really makes a decision to choose to use that health professional in the future. And like I said, I've done this many, many times in psychology practice. The benefits are long lived because people do remember. And if you can leave behind some materials, that helps with that. The final point you'll see I've put on this slide that I've touched on, but I want to really make sure I drive it home, is don't make this an overt sales pitch. Deliver value. Think about it through the prism of the time that organization is giving you, or those team members or staff members are giving you. Give value. That value that you deliver is going to be the best ad you can do. You can just put your name subtly or have one slide at the end or something that talks a little bit about what you do, but have it really, really low key, because that value is going to be the thing that drives people to want to use you. If you get up there and try and sell yourself, one, unless you're really comfortable doing that, you're probably going to feel awkward and want to avoid it. But two, it's going to feel like an ad. And, just like you imagine, do you want to sit there and listen to an ad, for a bunch of time? So probably not. So value. Okay, let's go to number 3, reach out to local media. And this can be local magazines, newspapers, radio stations, and offer to provide content on topic that's relevant to your profession and that is you think will be of interest. So things that you can sort of do here, and things that I've learnt, from experience, and I did spend a lot of time, a large number of years, probably well over 10 years, doing regular, radio spots. And by spots, I mean I'd have a regular slot where I'd go and talk about a different topic in relating to psychology, and did that for a few different radio stations. Now, I get that might not be for everyone. It certainly initially wasn't, for me. I'd be extremely nervous before I'd go on and do that. But it's, again, a really good way for the audience and for people to kind of get used to hearing about what you have to offer. But you're doing it, again, in a way that's not an ad. You're talking about a topic, or you think about topics that are going to drive value. Other things that you can do along these lines is offer to be a source for newspapers, any kind of media, really, newspapers, magazines, and so forth. You wouldn't, it's sort of hard to I guess, overestimate how much there is a need for that. So journalists, if you think about what their role is, they've got to produce content, they've got deadlines, they want to have a collection of good, reliable sources that they can use when they need to talk about different health topics. And so if you look up it could be your local area, it could be broader, who covers health, for media organizations that are in your area, what you'll find is those people are looking for good contacts that they can use. This one, it's amazing. Once you get into that contact list, they will contact you forever if you focus on providing just nice, sensible, down to earth advice. Okay, number 4. Use OPWs, other people's waiting rooms. So everyday health professionals, they've got waiting rooms that are filled with potential clients for you. So why not ask if you can put some brochures there and offer to reciprocate. We've found that this is it's one of those things that often gets kind of overlooked, but everyone's sitting in waiting rooms all the time, all around your area. And chances are, if they have a health need in one area, so if they're seeing a psychologist and you're a physiotherapist, then you can, just cross pollinate, have their brochures in your office and vice versa. That works amazingly well. People are often in that kind of frame of mind. That they're people who already are consuming health services. They're happy to pay for health services, and that's an ideal opportunity. And it's close to free, particularly if you're just getting a bunch of brochures printed. Doesn't cost much. You can just drive around, have a chat. Most of the time, people are happy to do that. One of the things that we found increased the uptake of this is when we would bring little brochure rack holders, like little plastic holders, with us when we'd go to visit other health practices. And that way there's not even an issue of them sort of getting lost, or just sitting on a bench somewhere and never seeing the light of day. So get a little plastic holder. You can get them very cheaply online. The other thing we'd suggest doing is at the bottom of that to put a sticker or to write your details on the bottom of that. So when the brochures run out, they know where to contact to get more, and you don't lose the benefit of your effort, and you don't lose your little DL brochure rack holder. Okay, marketing hack number 5, create free online business profiles. It's amazing how many times I see when businesses that do not take advantage of this. So Google, Bing, even good old yellow pages online still exists, still gets ranked by Google. It still improves your online presence. So you'll often see, and this is the thing that drives me up the wall sometimes because it's such a missed opportunity, is that very often the profiles are created automatically or created by someone else. They've done a review, for instance, on your business, and it's a very basic business profile, but there's a whole lot of content. You can go in and claim the profile, fill in as much detail as you can. When you see the forms to complete, where it asks for your hours of operation, your address, your phone numbers, email, everything that you can possibly put on there, fill it out so that there's a nice full profile. Google will tend to favor promoting profiles that provide their users, so people who are searching for information. When you provide more information, it means they're providing a better service to people who are looking to find services. Therefore, they're going to rank and list higher any businesses and business profiles that have information. Not to mention, when people land on that and they want to look at your business hours or they want to get your contact details and so forth, you want them to be able to get it right there and not necessarily have to even click through to your website or to your socials. So make sure you do that. The final point on this one is to make sure that you do check on and update your online your profiles on a regular basis. So sometimes they'll get a little bit out of date, a little bit stale normally, and we tend to find that those profile companies are tending to get, or those businesses that offer free profiles are getting better at kind of following up and making sure that the listings they have are current, but still it doesn't doesn't hurt to put a reminder in. Excuse me while I lose my voice. So it doesn't hurt. Put a reminder in, every couple of months to make sure that you check on it, make sure it's still valid. Okay, number 6, leverage your client database. If you've been operating a business or a practice for a while, chances are you have a database of current and former clients. They are very often a significant untapped resource. So they're people that have engaged with your company before, with your services before. They're more likely to either reuse your services in the future or to have
be friends with, socialize with, have family that are similar to them. So very likely the people that you've had success with before, and so thinking of past clients and so forth, their circle around them are going to be fantastic opportunities to get a new client. So if you've got empty slots, or you've got a new service to offer, an upcoming workshop, written a book, anything that where the people that have utilized your services might be interested, reach out to those in your database first. You can do bulk SMS campaigns. Say if you're using PowerDiary, or there may be some other practice management systems that offer that. If so, you can use a bulk SMS campaign to kind of really get that message out there. Or you can also use bulk emails and send emails out to advertise to your own client database. Simple, very often overlooked. 7, create a poster. So create a list of useful tips related to your industry and turn them into a poster. So these can be really great to display in, again, other people's waiting rooms. They can also go into businesses, into lunchrooms, depending on the topic, but there's lots of opportunities to get that. They're really long-lived. So when you create a poster and you get it into other businesses, other practices, other places, where pretty much anywhere where people are sitting or are going to see it, then that's great. It's like free advertising, free exposure, and it goes for a long time. Again, value is important here. Make sure that the content is offers value, but you can have your name, your contact details, a brief description at the bottom or somewhere subtly. Definitely have the design work done professionally. No one wants to have a homemade looking design that looks like I made it, because I'm going to make something that really doesn't look that great. So unless you've got really great design skills yourself, have a professional do it, or use a templated system so that it has that kind of professional polish. You can also get really good freelancers cheaply on places like Upwork and Airtasker and so forth. To get those posters, if you shop around online, depending on what country you're in, but pretty much everywhere you can get posters printed up relatively cheaply. You send them a file online, they'll print them up and ship them out to you fairly quickly. But amazing, and it's something that you'll get calls and emails and inquiries and traffic to your website for years. How often do you go into a waiting room and you see old posters on the wall? That's because once that poster's on there, no one's taking it down. Free perpetual advertising, and make it something that you're interested in and you think other people will be interested in too. Okay, number 8, get some fresh eyes on your website. If you haven't done your website in a while, ask, or maybe you have, but it was all your idea. Sometimes I create things and they're terrible. So I think they're good until, I get external opinions and they're like, yeah, that's not saying the right message, or there's something off. So ask family and friends to take a fresh look at it, get their perspective, be open to it, ask for feedback, ask if there's any questions they have that perhaps are not answered by the website. Make sure it's easy to navigate. Does it work on their device? Often we do these things, and maybe we've got the latest, device, and it looks great, but maybe someone on a slightly older phone doesn't look so good. So by asking family, friends, parents, and so forth to look, you get a really good sort of cross section of the community and your potential client base to sort of give kind of feedback. And sometimes it's simple things like you ask an older person to look at the website, and they look at it and say, "Oh, I can't look at it for you. I can't read it." So there's your feedback right there, that you might need to make it more responsive, make it the text larger, or make options for people that might have difficulties with eyesight. So simple, yet I see this all the time, and it's very easy for websites to get out of date. Okay, number 9, stand for something. Find something that makes you a little bit different. And I suggest that you start with really what you enjoy, and what values really kind of drive you. What element of treatment, what perspective, what take do you bring that is a little bit different? And I've put on here about keeping it simple and genuine and client centric. So the things, when I say client centric, things are going to matter to clients, and genuine, because I think that's
I think really the only way to so-called sell, but the only way to really kind of promote yourself with any kind of natural energy, if you like, is to focus on things that you genuinely feel strongly about. And when you do that, it's almost like a sort of resonance. You're sort of able to amplify that message really easily because people can see when you care about something and they can tell when you're not. So stand for something. It might be about the type of treatment. It might be about the approach. It might be a niche that you operate in. It might be a particular approach. It could be anything, but make it real. And then make sure that you communicate that, and that can be on your website. It can be on material that we're talking about, like on your brochures that you might leave in waiting rooms. It might be in other forms of contact that you have with people that may be interested. It might be in the workshops that you provide or the free talks or whatever. But make it genuine, make it real, make it client centric. Okay. Number 10, I've probably talked about this one a lot in the past. So if you've watched some of my content before, you definitely would have seen me talk about this and people understand it. But I'm just going to quickly touch on it anyway, because sending letters to GPs or to family physicians in your area, make sure to include who you are, what services you provide, and then the slide we were talking about before, what makes you different. Talk about what patients are suitable to send, and also keep it really practical about how they can refer patients to you. So nice and simple. But the key here is keep it really brief. I would suggest, and I've always, I think without exception, I think this is right, I think I've never sent anything that's more than an A4. The only, I guess, in terms of the description of services, I would also suggest if you're introducing yourself or you're introducing new team members to local referral sources like GPs and family physicians, then attaching a separate information sheet with photos of yourself or of the practitioners is helpful. But the actual description about what you do and what you can offer them and their patients, keep that to an A4 because they're busy and they won't read it. And yes, when I say letters, I actually mean a printed letter. I know, shocking. But most of the stuff you email them, it may or may not get through. Chances are it won't. But if it's a letter individually addressed to each of the physicians in each of the practices, the odds of it getting through are much greater. Also send it to the practice manager as well if you can get their details. Okay, building relationships with local organisations. This one, depending on the type of work you do, but contacting HR staff at the largest local organisations, introduce yourself and your practice. This can include government departments, hospitals. Often people think about this just in terms of private business and assume that things like government departments, local council, and that public hospitals, private hospitals, that they would have their own people in place already, or already have things that are provided through the government or whatnot. Forget all that. You'd be surprised. People are often just looking for good local practitioners to take care of their staff members. So by contacting and just letting them know who you are, what you do, and what you're able to do to help. And I like to throw in that you're able to help with some free advice if they need it too. Then that relationship that you can kind of develop is something that could sort of last a very long time. And it's interesting. I probably for most of the time that growing a practice, which I did for quite a long time, never had anyone kind of abuse that offer for free help. People are usually pretty respectful of your time. When they have, it's typically led, to something not, and I don't see it as transactional as that, but if you're genuinely there to help and say, look, if there's something I can help, you just need some advice, want to run something past me, in obviously your area of expertise, people may do that, but they also are appreciative and will tend to do that because they trust you. And that means that when they have a need for procuring services, they trust you, they have a relationship with you, they're more likely to use you. So building those relationships can really make a significant difference. You can do that by going to events and things as well, like local, there's often networking events and things.
you can go to those things and meet people that way, or you can actually go into a presentation, or even just book an appointment with one of the HR people and say you'd like to let them know that you're offering a particular service, and they'll usually be receptive to that. Just don't make it a sales pitch. Make it about what you can do for them. I don't notice that's a theme in what I'm talking about, but it's because it is super important. Okay, next thing, LinkedIn. You can grow your network via LinkedIn. Now, I have a complicated relationship with LinkedIn. I kind of really like it, and at the same time, sometimes it can get annoying. I think we've all had those kind of notices and things that pop up and get lots of like spam connection attempts and things. So, but it actually can work really well, and I've developed some really good relationships via LinkedIn, and people contacting me via that, where I've there's been a natural kind of alignment of interests. But also you can really kind of grow your connections here. Now, best way to kind of go about doing this, and people have different strategies, but again, I think you go on there with the intent of kind of offering value. So interacting with other people's content, making, bringing your insight to it if it's appropriate, or sharing content yourself that people may genuinely find useful. And it's not like a sort of one-to-one connection. It's not something that you post an article and you get certain kind of it's something that over time has a sort of cumulative effect. But it's kind of amazing, how much it really can work, and then you get the connections of connections, of course, which is how LinkedIn works. But it's great because then you do tend to grow your those relationships, in ways that kind of are attracting like-minded people. So that can be kind of a really useful and very often sort of untapped resource. Okay, try targeted advertising with Facebook. Now, you've got to be a little bit careful with both Facebook, and we'll talk a little bit about Google. So obviously, Facebook and Google, they're there to try and maximize the amount of advertising revenue they make. So you got to be a little bit careful in terms of how you set that up, and you certainly don't want to set it up with really kind of untargeted, advertising, and setting like high budgets, or not putting caps on how much you want to spend per day, per week, or whatever that you choose to use. However, you can create ads or boost posts from your Facebook business page, and you can really kind of target that, and that's where I think the key to success on Facebook comes. You can really like hone in on that kind of target market, and you can target that based on um, geography. You can target it based on the level of interest that people have shown, either engaged with your Facebook page in the past, or liked people. So people who are similar to other people that have engaged. So you can actually look at who's engaging with your Facebook content, if you do have if you are on Facebook posting content. And then you can target similar people, which means that you're more likely to get access to a wider, population. So this kind of thing goes back to this other idea of if you have a Facebook page for your business, you can, by posting content on there that's relevant, then you'll find that clients will often join that or follow that because they're interested in what you have to say, because you provide service to them, they trust you. They're a voice that they sort of stands out because they've got that kind of relationship. But then their friends and their network, who are likely to be similar to them, are going to more likely to kind of see your ads if you advertise, or if you post content and they interact with it. If your clients interact with it, then their friends see that, and so forth. Again, it's not for everyone. I think it depends if you're comfortable. It doesn't need to be personal stuff, but if you're someone that doesn't mind sharing your sort of insights and so forth, then go for it. If it's not you, like, don't force it. Like I think like you probably spend your time on something, a marketing strategy that sort of resonates with you more. You'll be more likely to kind of I think put time and commitment and effort into that. So if the idea of Facebook or LinkedIn or something that I'm talking about, you think, that really kind of turns me off, I don't want anything to do with that, that's fine. Don't do it. Just focus on something that you do like, and you don't need to have any of these to work. It can be one or a few or a combination.
Okay, same type of thing with Google Ads. What I'd say, with Google Ads is that one of the reasons they work so well is because they're targeting people that have got good sort of search or purchase intent. So often, they're searching because they have a need. So people rarely are going to like search for health services that they don't actually need. So that's really kind of a really positive thing if you're in the health space and you're advertising on Google. Um, but it's also one of the weaknesses, I would say, of this approach versus some of the other ones we've talked about. So this is very short-lived. You get the click, you're paid for that click, and that's it. That's great. You get that client. Hopefully, you can that will help, and you'll end up other ways that client might assist in terms of word of mouth and so forth. But still, if you compare it to like getting a poster or going in and doing a presentation in a business or leaving brochures, this one it's short lived, but like I say, it is immediate. And so if your books are looking a little bit thin, and your bookings are looking a bit thin, I should say, this is a fantastic way that you can boost it fairly quickly, and then you can also turn it off. Again, targeting is key here. So really tighten up on the geography. Google will like, of course, because they want to make money, is to advertise it broadly, advertise your business broadly. So tighten up on the geography. Also, be careful around the search words that you're happy for to trigger your ads. And look, we could do a whole presentation on that, but just be mindful of not, keep it tight, and you're going to apply your kind of common sense about what are people likely searching for. I tend to suggest not just going with all of Google's recommendations, because again, Google's motivation, as much as they can be very helpful, but their motivation ultimately is to show your ad to as many people as possible, which you're ultimately going to pay for. So you want to keep it sort of tightly focused around the people that you think are likely to be future clients of yours. So think about things like age range. If you're, or gender, if you are targeting particular age, particular gender, you find that that's the clients that kind of your practice does best with, or any other kind of niche, then try and tighten that up in Google so that you're advertising to people that are actually likely to benefit from your service. Okay, use an introductory first session free offer. Now, there's going to be people listening to this right now who think this is a terrible idea. That's okay. It can be a terrible idea, but it also can be an excellent idea. Now, where it's a really good idea, I think, is where you really want to get your name out there. You want people to kind of try your services, and there are potential barriers to that. So sometimes, for instance, where referrals required, by offering a free, first session, you can actually get clients in the door, fairly easily, as makes sense, because we're offering a free offer. They're going to give you, you're going to give them, I should say, an experience with you that can be really helpful, because now you're providing a sort of a face, a feel, a company. They kind of get a sense of what you're on about. You can get, from that, you can attract new clients. So if you, let's say, going into a new area, you want to establish a practice fairly quickly, and you've tried some other things that's not working so well, this is a good way that you can kind of cut through a lot of the noise, and you'll get people that sort of come through and will utilize you. And then from there, you're going with word of mouth. So very often, let's say you're new to an area, and maybe, the physicians or GPs already have established referral relationships, and you find it a little bit kind of hard to kind of break into that. You can kind of do it another way, and by seeing patients first, and then contacting the physician or their GP with consent, of course, and the patient, to say that hey, you've seen them, and that you're provide the normal information you would. You're now getting exposure, and that person's going back to their GP and saying positive things, of course, about you. So you get that word of mouth. Now, I said it could be a terrible idea, and where it can be a terrible idea is if you find that you're attracting the wrong type of patient, that can be a terrible idea. if you do it in a way that is promoting a service that people don't need. So remember, in most countries, in most professions, there are, for very good reasons, ethical guidelines around not encouraging people to consume health services that they don't need. This applies to this as well. So you want to make sure that that you're targeting that offer in a way that is useful and that is genuine. You're actually looking at people that might genuinely need the services that you have to offer. Um, and the third reason that it can be a terrible idea is if you're already busy. That sounds silly, but if you're really busy, people sometimes get in the habit of running some of these things and just kind of like forget to to stop it when you don't need it anymore. So, for instance, going back to one of the ones we talked about before about if you are going into businesses and doing presentations and things, if you're really busy and you've got a really good referral network, hey, maybe it's a good idea to stop doing that stuff because now that's time that you're not getting paid for and you don't need it. Same with this. I would much rather be, if I'm starting a new practice, I'd much rather be seeing some patients for free to begin with and be doing something constructive with my time than seeing the practice empty and the phones aren't ringing and no one's jumping on my website. So it's just like one of those things. If you've got the free, you've got the free time, you're starting out, you may as well, do something constructive and get people experiencing your service rather than just necessarily advertising it to them, which can burn cash easily. Okay, marketing hack number 16. Learn some super basic SEO. So SEO, as most people I'm sure know, search engine optimization. It's when you put into Google, and now we're talking about unpaid. So this is when you're trying to get to rank on Google's results for free. Search engine optimization refers to how do you make your website stand out. Now, what I mean by stand out, I don't mean like what colors and things you have on it. I mean stand out to the algorithms to when someone is searching on Google. So there's some really basic things that you can do that sort of makes it easier for search engines to find you. Ultimately, adding content to your website that contains terms that are related to your location, to your profession, to the services that you provide, and content that is likely to match what people are searching for. So if you think about it, people are going to say, well, think about what you do when you're searching for something. You're going to say, you want this type of health practice in my area or near me or in whatever town. So if your content, if you have web pages that have that looking for a psychologist in, so what we have here, an example is Austin, or chiropractors near London, or physiotherapists in Melbourne or in a suburb, whatever it is that you service, if you have a page that's called that, and then you have copy that actually refers to that. So we're a psychology practice that operates in Austin, and you just have a page that's sort of just dedicated to those terms and speaking about that. Search engines will find that. It'll match that content with people who are searching that term. And it makes those little things can make a big difference. There's other things that you can do, like making sure that if you have images, that your images have names that are useful. And what I mean by names, file names, that instead of it being image 0065 something that makes no sense to anyone, including a search engine, if that image instead, is called, psychologist in Austin, physiotherapist in Melbourne, it's another data point that the search engines use to say, I think this website is matching what this person is looking for. And so now, again, this one, we could do a whole workshop just on learning basic SEO. But simple things like I'm describing, if you even if you just kind of do a search on what some basic things you can do to your website to improve SEO, it's amazing the difference that it can have, and particularly because people don't do the basics. So chances are the competitors in your area have not spent a lot of time doing this, and you can spend
half an hour learning a bit about it, editing your website, or getting the person who manages your website to review it and to make any changes that improve SEO. And all of a sudden, you'll see yourself rising in the ranks. It doesn't happen overnight, by the way. When you do it, it takes a little while for Google to kind of work it out and to test out whether people are landing on your site and are staying on your site. So if you do it and you don't see a result the next day, that's okay. That's normal. Just keep making little changes, and you'll see that your ranking will improve. 17, running a competition on social media. So again, running competitions can be great, and you can do. You kind of want people typically to perform an action or interact, in some way, but asking people to sign up to a newsletter or joining your mailing list, commenting or contributing or something on a post, things like that. Kind of often, they have. When I say viral, and I don't mean viral as in I think the odds of any one thing kind of going viral in the sense of becomes a sensation is extremely unlikely. So I'm not talking about aiming for that, but it kind of goes. Some of these things can go viral in a fairly achievable way. In other words, people comment on there. It means that it then shows up on other people's feed because their friend commented or has entered or has shared a post, and then you can get other people that are in that person's network that will kind of do the same thing. Now, don't do anything spammy or scammy. Of course, I don't need to tell you that. Your health professionals, not to do that. But saying if you ask people to share their favorite tip for whatever it might be, related in your health field, and that you'll randomly, pick a winner and send them a voucher or something, or something that actually adds value to the community, or offer something of value, like they join your newsletter or they follow your page, and you're able to deliver value that way. Offer value, offer something that's genuine, and it's amazing how that sort of network viral effect that can have, and great if you're also kicking off a new business, or if you've already got one that has been that you've got existing people following your site, or but you want to kind of increase that kind of engagement and re-inject some energy into it. It doesn't need to cost much, and it's very effective. Okay, we've talked about becoming a go-to media source. So we talked a little bit of that before. So I'm not going to go over that in quite as much detail, but I just wanted to include on here that you can become, there's a few sites, and I'll put them on there, where you can actually sign up. And that's where the sites actually connect journalists with sources. And that way you can, rather than reach out directly, you can, journalists will go on and they'll say, I need a source on this topic. I want this perspective, or I want to interview someone about this. You can actually go on and do that. Sometimes you can do this stuff via email or a phone call. It doesn't need to take a lot of time, but a good way to make connections. Again, if it's not something that appeals to you, don't do it. Not everyone needs to be the go-to, media source, but if it's something you're like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that, or I'm curious to try that out, sign up, try it out, see how you go. And if it resonates with you, or you form a few good, relationships, then that can be something that kind of pays off a long time into the future. So I had relationships with writers that would write feature stories, and I met them, I think, through some of these things, or other. It might have been from LinkedIn, and then they'd come to me to be a source in stories for years later, and it was genuine. It wasn't. I wouldn't be trying to push a particular thing. I'd try and help them with whatever they were doing if it was within my field of expertise, and then they're appreciative, and they would promote whatever I was doing in a nice sort of transparent and kind of warm way. So it's not an ad, but yeah, it's good. Good to try something different, expand your horizons. Don't worry about being nervous. That's completely normal if you're doing something like this. I don't know. I haven't met many people that aren't. It's just one of those things. Give it a go. Okay, micro advertising opportunities. So if you think about it, people tend to access health practices that are close to their homes. So where else do those people kind of go? Where do they hang out? So there's often these micro advertising spaces that get overlooked. So I think like school newsletters, local sports clubs. If you think about the local bakery, has a notice board. You could sponsor, non-profit community events, local clubs. It's like they get overlooked because people often look for kind of big, flashy things, or think that to move the needle, you need to do something really big and really expensive. But every day, people are standing in line at a shop, at a bakery. They're going to school. They're getting newsletters. They're waiting on the sidelines while their child's playing sport, right? And where are they waiting? What are they looking at? So often there's opportunities for things in notice boards or clubs you're happy for, in exchange for usually very modest amounts, that you can take out some advertising. And then you're doing a nice thing. You're supporting them, and you're getting a return on that and getting that exposure. There's lots of opportunities around for this, and it's usually untapped. And you think about it, like a lot of these things are places that people have repeated exposure to. They take their kids to sport every week because they stand in the same kind of spot every week. So just have a look around and see, are there, what ads are you seeing? What are there posters up? Are there opportunities to put a poster on your topic up? And once it's there, like parents are going to be sitting there looking at that for years to come. There's many parents before you have been sat in the same spot waiting for their kids. So thinking about these micro opportunities, and they're places that other people, typically aren't going, and it can be, give you an amazing edge. Okay, this one, I stumbled across this by accident years and years ago, exhibiting at local career days. So a school was doing a career day, and that's how it started, and asked, our practice, for instance, come along and talk about psychology and be there for students to ask questions about psychology. And to be honest, at the time, I was kind of busy, and I was like, I didn't really kind of see the upside, like as in there was altruistic upside, but I didn't see the commercial upside. But that was okay. Like we did it, but I wasn't super excited, to be fair, just because we had a lot on at the time. And I want to do it because I think it's nice, and people, particularly we need new generations, right, of health practitioners. So we kind of thought about it and went, actually, it'd be a nice thing to do. We get to speak to students and help them understand what working in as a psychologist would be like. So we had team members come along, and I went along to the first one, and it was amazing. Like it was amazing to see. It's very rewarding, like to see the enthusiasm and the questions of the next generation. So I think in this case they were like year 10 or 11 students, maybe some year 12, um, and to see the enthusiasm and the amount that they really sort of got, or the benefit they got from how to talk to a real professional, like about what it's like to do that. So it's often, I guess, easy to kind of forget that kids, they don't get an opportunity to talk to people about what actually doing that job is like. So I actually found it really rewarding from that perspective. But the thing that I hadn't expected was that the commercial things that came out of that, because parents are there, and those parents own businesses, and, they have friends or they need services, and, they see that you're interacting and you're really trying to help, kids with whatever questions they have and talk about their profession. And, I'm hoping you're passionate about your profession, so that comes across. And it was amazing the amount of, like, we had brochures and things on on the display. It's just amazing how many of those people talk, and how many kind of calls and traffic we got from our, to our site over time. It wasn't like the next day, although we did get next day stuff happen, but it was amazing for, each time we did one of those, because we did quite a few in the end, you would get, um, you know, people would reference it, when they ring up, or the first appointment you have, and they're like, oh, yeah, you were talking, at the school expo. And yeah, anyway, so I didn't see the brilliance of this myself, fell into it, got to be honest. But it's great, and it really is great. I started to really look forward to them, and they're really great, opportunities. So do it anyway for the altruism, giving back, all that. But there is a side benefit. So, but yeah, it's good fun.
Okay, last one for today. Hopefully your brain's locking on, thinking about some ideas that you could do. Last one is around setting up online bookings and payments. So you're doing all this activity and you're generating excitement about what you're doing, you're generating interest. You want to be able to harness that as effectively as possible. So in terms of if we're looking at it in marketing terms, you talk about like the conversion rate between people that visit your site or people that exposure to your business. The conversion rate is like what percentage of those actually convert into a paying customer or a paying client. So the more that people have to kind of wait, or the more barriers there are for them to kind of engage with your practice, the more risk is that you get a drop off, right? So that kind of makes sense. So let's say you come across an ad middle of the night, you got back pain, you're looking for treatment for back pain, and you come across an ad. Now, if the only way to make an appointment is to call the next morning, well, there's a significant risk that the person's going to forget. Or if they're in they sort of have an emotionally difficult time, or they reach a realization that they really do need to see a psychologist, for instance. They think about that in the middle of the night, they see an ad, or they've heard of you. They go to your website and go, oh, I have to call tomorrow. Well, all sorts of things get in the way of that happening. So by allowing people to take an action on your website to progress that goal, to get treatment and to engage, the better. So the more opportunities you can give them, the better. So if you've got an online booking system set up and you can accept payment is even better, then people can perform all the actions in one go. They get the idea, they can, jump on. Yes, they look at it. They like your site and like what you have to offer. They can click on, book in. They can book in, and if you want, you can turn on, the option where they can even pay for the session right now. So now it's actually committed. It's money in your bank account. They can do all of that at the very time that they were thinking, "I need this service." And that, if we think about it in terms of conversion rate, it means that the payoff for your effort, for your marketing effort, goes through the roof because, like I say, they have to wait until business hours, and maybe you're not there to answer the phone, or maybe it's engaged, or maybe they get distracted. Lots of things can kind of get in the way. The other thing about online bookings and payments is that it's convenient. It reduces the admin time for you, and it gets money into your bank account straight up. So that makes cash flow makes all the difference, as I'm sure all of you know. So by making it an effortless process, then you maximize all the other things that we talked about. You maximize them by setting up that online bookings and getting those payments coming straight through. That's it for me today. Thank you very much for coming along. I really hope that it's got your brain kind of firing. And like I said, I'm sure there's a bunch of those in there that you think, no, that's not for me. Go to where the natural interest is and where the energy goes. If you want more information about Power Diary, we've got a bunch of different ways that you can contact us. So you can visit us, you can email us, you can jump on and do have a one-on-one support call. You jump on live chat, whatever you like. Go visit our site if you're interested in our practice management software. Wonderful. Thanks once again for attending. Happy marketing, and I will see you next time.